thing I wanted to quickly mention is something I'm going to play with more in the next week or so is AI, which is in the form of LUMINAR, because LUMINAR now has come out with that Flex version, and I was talking about earlier how I don't like going through different interfaces. Now the beauty of when you install the LUMINAR Flex is you can just take it from where you are in Lightroom. So like I've done a bunch of tweaks here, so I don't want to go into LUMINAR and start fresh. Sometimes I just want to take those edits with me and take it from there, for instance. So what you can do is I've already installed the software, so I can go edit in, so LUMINAR Flex, and what it does is it gives me an option to edit a copy. So it's a copy, so I'm not going to ruin my original, so I can see what it's done in LUMINAR, but it's going to take a copy with the Lightroom adjustments with it. So I think that's one of the safest and the more fun ways, unless you want to really specifically just edit a copy and you really want to start from scratch and seeing which gets you closer to where you want to go, whether it's Lightroom edits or LUMINAR. I like the idea that you can just start with where you are and then see if you can improve it in LUMINAR. So if I hit edit now, and I'll just show you this just for a few minutes because we are pretty much on the hour here. Let's see. And I've got Zoe cheering me on. Yeah, go longer. Oh, and Edward, I will show you how I load presets too, because that's kind of important. As far as, for some reason, it never works the way that people tell me. Okay, so now the interesting thing when I talk about LUMINAR and AI, it's not really AI versus presets in LUMINAR, because LUMINAR comes with both. As you can see down the bottom here, there's a bunch of presets that come with LUMINAR, and actually they have all different collections and you can get more. So they call them looks in here. So that's essentially what there's landscape, creative, aerial, professional. So this is in the professional series here. So that's another way of doing the 80-20, where you can just jump in and get your image to, almost where you want it straight away. Like bright day. I like bright day. Let's see. So there we go. So that might be a little bit saturated for me. But now the other benefit, instead of that opal tool that you have in Lightroom, that works great with presets, this by default comes with the little slider. And that's full version, and then you can turn it down. So, okay, I just want this much of this preset. So that's super cool. I like the way they do their presets in LUMINAR. So that's something I'm really a fan of. So I'd say like 48 looks good. So once you do that, then what you'll notice with LUMINAR, you see a develop thing. You can essentially add what you normally see in Lightroom. You got your temperature, you got your exposure. Like I might want to highlights, you might want to pull up and down. And as you can see, it turned down the clarity for this, kind of like I did in Lightroom. So I've turned down the clarity twice really, once in Lightroom and once in LUMINAR. But you still have all the sliders and sliders and filters. Now the difference, the way LUMINAR works, is you can keep stacking filters on top of each other, which is kind of interesting. And it can be the same filter. Like Lightroom, you have a set of filters, and the only way you really stack on top with Lightroom is if you add an extra brush or an extra gradient. So you can, with those localized tools, you can add more than one. So that's a way of stacking. But you can't add two temperature sliders over the whole image. Whereas with LUMINAR, you can just add another filter. And actually, this is but one of the things that I'm going to look at more in the next week or so is these AI filters. So this is one of them, which is the AI filter 2.0 here. And this is just an overall boost. So this is taking it from there to there. And this actually, in this one, I actually prefer closer to my original, maybe like halfway. But I will bring in another image to see what this does. But this Accent AI is one of the ones that's interesting. Now there's also one that does sky. So we've got the sky AI filter. So these are the two like real AI filters, is this accent and the sky. And then there's also this tone filter and structure. So basically it has different sections, but like I say, you can just keep adding. You can just keep adding these filters on top of each other and then duplicating them. So it has an interesting way of doing things, but then also each filter allows you to edit it as well. So every filter can have a brush. Like here's a soft filter, right? It's added this soft filter here. I can do that, and then I can actually go in there and I can put a radial mask, a gradient mask, or just brush on it. So it's kind of cool. And then with the brush, you can choose to erase or you paint on. So if you paint on, it'll say, okay, I'm going to add all the softness to where I painted. So let's say I just want the duck soft and everything else is going to be nice and crispy. So it really highlights the fact that we have this little soft fluffy animal in this hard ground. So that's it. So now you can see if I turn that on and off, I'm just affecting. So yeah, I'm starting to like the idea of the way Luminar does things. And I still like the way Lightroom handles my catalogs and organize my images and things I can do quickly in Lightroom and some of the presets I have. I definitely still be reaching to Lightroom, but I can also see myself popping in here and playing with these tools too, and just having that ability to just paint on a certain kind of tool really easily. So I think, yeah, I'm quite starting to like Luminar. And like I said, I wasn't a huge fan before just because it was separate and I had to be in a totally different interface. Actually, let me, if I can find where that window is now. Luminar. I just want to save that out and see what happens when I go out of here. So if I go done, apply, I'm presuming this is just going to send me back to Lightroom and it should be a new version in there. Let's see. As I mentioned, I'm still playing with this. I'm new. Oh yeah, there we go. So I've got this version and this version now. So this is the version I just played with in Luminar. So it's basically added an extra version. So really cool. And actually, this one I played with my dog. Gee, that's weird. It's he's suddenly got thin. But with this image here, same thing. I got it most of the way in Lightroom, and I'm actually going to lights out mode. This is my dog Sabala. So this is a real backlit situation, really cool. So I had to bring up the shadows a lot and work a lot on this image to make it look like the way I wanted it to. In fact, there's the before and after. So I basically brought up the light and also did kind of a bit of vignetting, and so he really stands out as the subject, but also wanted to lighten the face a lot. But one of the things I found is it was kind of soft around the face. So the cool thing is I went into Luminar and I added a sharpening filter essentially. And I'm just going to show you, see if you can see the difference here. It might take a second to load. I don't know if it's that apparent. Yeah, but that's the before and that's the after. When it kicks in, there's actually more definition around the, there's nose and there's eyes. It actually has increased the sharpness, and actually down by his leg here too. So that was a cool thing, just being able to get it more or less almost where I wanted it in Lightroom, like there. And I actually put a bit more warmth too, and then popping it into Luminar and just warming things up a bit and adding a bit of sharpness. So really the best of both worlds. So I think I might, start working this into my workflow more. And I'm actually going to do more. So next webinar, or I'll probably talk a bit more about my experiences with it. Now, this was an example of an image. This is straight out of camera. So one of the things I want to do here is go into Luminar and edit a copy. Okay, we're 4:10 now, so I'll promise I'll only speak for another 5 minutes. Edward asked, is Luminar Flex it's a one-off purchase. It's not a subscription. So that's one of the reasons people like it over Adobe, is you just buy it. And then obviously in future they may come out with a new version and you might have to pay for the upgrade. But within a version, you won't have to pay for the upgrades. So this is kind of cool. This is, if I bring this, it kind of, sometimes you can just, I've got to figure out how to do this, but it starts with a default set of sliders, and the AI filter and accent AI is part of it. So it kind of gives you this default, but you can get rid of these and just start with your own. But this is what I want to see, just a quick boost. So I think it does a great job. I mean, look at that. From there to there, just with this accent AI, I think it's a massive improvement. And then the sky AI. Now this actually detects where the sky is. So in this case, I actually don't think it improves it too much. I think it would work better when there's blue sky with clouds and there's some kind of contrast you're playing with. So I don't think it does wonders for this, but this accent AI, I think, does a wonderful thing. Now golden hour, that really brings up the crop there. That brings up the yellow. So that, I like that. That's looking good. Foliage enhancer generally just pops the greens, and that can be too much, so you got to be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm in early days with this, but I can see, okay, that's obviously structure, which is like micro contrast. So maybe a little bit there. So there we go, I think. So now if I just said apply and just pop back into Lightroom, that was just like a quick tour to see mostly what that AI filters can do, you know, what that AI boost does. And I think it does a pretty cool job. So processing, okay, I guess it's just getting all the AI bots to figure it out. But so now technically speaking, we should have both versions in Lightroom. I was thinking about it. Yeah, it's still loading that version. Well, there you go. Okay. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's just do our little standard lights out move here. And yeah, I mean, I might want to like make it a bit more subtle, but wow, it looks really cool how you see the layered hills in the background. It's starting to look more like a watercolor painting there. But yeah, I mean, that's taken it from a relatively boring shot to pretty cool. Now I can see some, yeah, there's definitely some specks on the lens here. So now this is where Lightroom's cool. I can just go in there and just spot removal. I'd hit that one, that one, that one, and that one, and I'd be done. So yeah, overall impressed. So if you haven't got, so if you have got Lightroom and you are interested in the Luminar, then Luminar Flex is definitely an option as far as not having a standalone program, just having it plugged in. So it plugs into Lightroom and Photoshop. And if you haven't picked up one yet, just literally a day ago or something, the lady from Skylum, who make Luminar, they sent me this code, and it's Ken DPC, and I'll have it under the recording of this video. So if you go there and you if you click the link, well, I'm probably going to send out an email this week coming up after I've done a few more tests with Luminar, and I'll have a link to their Luminar Flex page, and then this particular coupon code, I believe she said, can get you $10 off. So Ken DPC.